Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome into what is the first of hopefully going to be very many of something that I am tentatively calling the iRacing Slice of Rice Slice. Fuck me, the iRacing Slice of Life broadcast. I can speak today. But you already get the point of this. I do a lot of semi-professional commentary for a couple of different short track oval iRacing leagues, and that's good and fun and all, but sometimes it's nice to just let loose a little bit, do something a little bit different from what my normal content is like. So, in my free time, I'm just going to be jumping into completely random official iRacing races and commentating them for a little bit less of a professional standard than what I normally go for my leagues, and show off a little bit more of what iRacing has to offer and what events in the greater iRacing community tend to look like. But that said, cars are getting ready to head down to the starting grid already for this here week 13 iRacing 2x4 series event. So let's get a quick look at our starting lineup. Starting out on the pole here tonight, going to be the number 3 machine of Charles Wagner, with Jimmy Wheatzel in the 59 to his outside. Third place going to go back to Charles Schleive in the 348, followed by Brandon Weekly in the 7. Fifth place going to go to, oh boy, I can't even pronounce that one. Or that one for that matter. Oh boy, names are hard when you don't have time to practice them, huh? Seventh place going to go back to the 777 entry of Marcus Wood, followed by Maddox Bailey in the 11, back in P number 8. Ninth going to go to Jesse Main in the 201, followed by Chris Bowes in the number 13 machine in 10th. 11th going to go back to Carter Stickney in the 9, followed by Brian Tadishi in the 29. The one lone Pro 2 entry here tonight going to be the number 99 of Kevin Savoy in 13th, going to be automatically winning in his respective class. Then starting off the Pro 2 class, going to be the 21 of Danny Cassar, followed by Dalton J. Martin in the 4 machine back in 15th. 16th going to go to Tobias Steimel in the 8 back in 16th. 17th to John Rivera in the 10, followed by Almor Sousa in the 12 back in the 18th position. 19th going to go to Christian Scrucia, perhaps, in the 014, followed by Rikus Hadding in the 6, Andrew J. Lopez the 2nd, Ronald Ketzer, Charles Amspacher, and Martin Kadelich rounding out our field here tonight. We're getting ready to go green. There is no pace lap here in this series. Green flag already up in the air. Let's see what these drivers are going to be able to do here tonight. 12 laps up on the board, and a whole lot of chaos in store for us. Already up at the front of the field, drivers making contact with each other in the Pro 4 class. Pro 4 being the fastest class of truck out here on the field. Pro 4's coming in at roughly 900 horsepower, so a whole lot of power behind the hoods of these absolutely massive cars. And you can see Marcus Wood back there, one driver flipped upside down, already taking the tow here this evening. In a 12-lap race like this, taking the tow is basically guaranteed a death sentence, so there is no time for these cars to actually get back out on the track as we go 3 wide down the backstretch heading into turn number 4. One of the cars having some pretty significant connection issues. Currently looking at the battle for the lead for the Pro 2 class. That looks like that might be Dalton Martin in the 4 machine that is having those connection issues we're seeing. And you can see a little bit of clipping between the cars, and there's actually several vehicles back here looking like they have a bit of connection issues here in the Pro 2 Light class. I'll tell you what, for being the slower car, and that's another one upside down on the roof, that's John William Riviera, I believe. Also Andrew J. Lopez around. Already several cars laps down. This is a little bit chaotic, but that is kind of the joy of what Week 13 is all about. Of course, the iRacing Sporting Code still enforced here, but still Week 13 is an off-season week for drivers to have a little bit of fun in otherwise fairly unorthodox racing configurations. Of course, that's why we have 3 different classes out here on a track coming in, I want to say, around roughly 1.5 miles in length. Looking up at our overall race leader and class leader for the Pro 4s, that's going to be Charles Wagner in the number 3 machine, already having a full second gap built up, but Charles Schleive and Jimmy Whitesell both coming in just right behind him, side by side, coming through turn 4. Schleive going to have the run out of the corner, but you can see this track is absolutely, dare I say, completely flooded in these Pro Truck machines. Now, the Pro 2 Lite, obviously the slower class here, but the Pro 2 and the Pro 4 are actually very similar to each other, and that's a car around. Let's see if we can't get eyes on who that is. Not quite sure whoever it was. It looks like they took the tow already. And speaking of drivers, we gotta give the number 99 of Kevin Savoy a little bit of appreciation. The only driver in this 27 car field to come out and enter in an actual Pro 2 truck. Pro 2 is in a bit of a weird space where it's not the Pro 2 Lite, which is a free truck, and it's not the Pro 4 truck, which is the fastest truck. So no one really ever wants to compete in the Pro 2s. It's just the weird middle child that no one really thinks about. So Kevin Savoy in that 99, by virtue of coming out onto the track in a Pro 2 truck, going to be the winner in his respective class. But battles heating up all throughout the field for the other 2 classes. Currently looking at the battle for second, actually 3 wide as they crest the hill. This is the battle for third and second in the Pro 2 class. That said, Danny Cesar only having a very tiny little gap in front of him between himself and the other Pro 2 lights. That number 8 bright pink Monster Energy car, not exactly the kind of colors you expect to see on a Monster Energy truck, but you know what? We don't judge here in the iRacing Slice of Rice broadcast. All paint schemes are valid, except the ones that aren't. Up at the front of the field, things are heating up in the Pro 4 class, though, side by side for P number 2 between Charles Slies and Jimmy Whitesell. Still side by side down the backstretch. Schleive is going to have the advantage, though. Heading down into turn number 4, Schleive has a bit of a bad entry, but he manages to make it work for him. Heading down the front stretch and crossing the line, we are now on lap 7 of 12, already past the halfway point of this race, and a very hard landing for Schleive. If this were any other vehicle, that would absolutely be a broken suspension. Schleive and Whitesell now having to contend with slower class traffic. Got a couple of Pro 2s just in front of them that they have to worry about. And Joku Pekala starting to catch up to both of them as well. About, call that a 4-ish second gap back, but with how these 2 are racing each other, entirely possible that that gap is going to diminish very quickly. In trouble, Schleive is upside down. That is Schleive's race over with, just like that. Taking the tow will take roughly a minute and a half, and that's a minute and a half that these drivers simply don't have in this 12-lap long event. Only 4 laps to go already. And another harsh contact, that one for Chris Bose with one of the Norwegian drivers, and Bose again just getting sent all across the track in that number 13 machine. currently being scored as the last car on the lead lap for the Pro 4 trucks. So already only 8 laps down, and already several cars that are several laps off the pace. Looking a little bit further down, though, Tobias Steimel currently in a battle for the lead for the Pro 2 class. These two drivers side by side, the 8 of Tobias Steimel and the 4 of Dalton Martin. Currently the closest battle on the speedway for a race lead. Wagner currently building up a 4-second gap between himself and Weitzel in the Pro 4s. So right now, all of the drama is between these two Pro 2 light machines. Looks like Steimel will have the advantage heading down the backstretch into the big sweeper that is turn number 4. A little bit of contact between Steimel and Martin. Martin pushing Steimel up the racetrack. Will he have the advantage though? Side by side down the front stretch. Steimel going to be scored as our race leader as he crosses the line, but it looks like Martin may actually have the advantage, and sure enough, Martin's going to be scored as the new class leader coming out of turn number 1 and going over the jump. It looks like Cesar also managed to get around of him just like that. Martin, the new leader for the Pro 2 class, in a bit of trouble just behind them. There's a car with a wheel stuck over the edge of the wall. Not quite sure who that is, but once again, if he can't get that truck over the wall again, that is going to be his race over with just like that. There is no coming back from being flipped over or otherwise pushed off the track here. So definitely unfortunate to see for some of these drivers, but of course week 13, none of that actually matters in regards to iRating or safety rating or anything to that effect. Just out here to have fun, turn some laps, and enjoy a track that used to be paid content that has been made newly free on the iRacing.com platform. Steimel having a bit of contact with, I believe that was Ketzer, going to be knocking him back a couple of seconds and getting really sideways through the corner. Going to lose a couple more positions, but still holding on to 4th place in the Pro 2 class. These two currently the closest cars on the speedway, despite the track being so small and having so many cars on it. This battle here between Heading and Steimel are the two closest battles on the speedway, and they're both going to make contact coming down the backstretch. White flag up in the air for our race leader of Charles Wagner. Wagner currently stealing the show with a 6-second gap to his respective class battles. So Wagner, as long as he manages to get around the speedway, he's going to be clocking out and taking home the win without a whole lot of resistance. You can see him there, that number 3 on the track map, having an absolutely massive advantage, not over just cars in his class, but every other car on the field. And of course, coming around out of turn number 4, Wagner is going to be the overall race winner for tonight's event. A little bit further back, that number 99 machine of Kevin Savoy going to be his respective class winner in the Pro 2 by virtue of being the only Pro 2 in the race. And then just a little bit further back, that's the race leader of Dalton Martin spun around. Martin actually having a whole lot of trouble. Martin, looks like Martin's going to be taking the tow. Martin's not going to be able to make it to the end of the race. Cesar also taking the tow, as well as Steimel. And it looks like Martin still is going to be scored as the winner for this race because Wagner managed to cross the line, and that brought it all to an end here this evening. So talk about a hectic race, y'all. 12 laps around this speedway, and that was enough to send many cars over on their lids. Many more getting all sorts of damage on them, like you could see with that orange number 1 machine. That said, let's see if we can't take a quick look at our official race results before we sign it off for the very first ever iRacing Slice of Life broadcast. Looks like the results actually are not going to come up until one or two more cars cross the line that still have actually not finished the race. Looks like that's going to be the 10 of Jean-William Riviera that still needs to actually finish the race before we can take a look at the race results. I'll tell you what, race fans, these pro trucks never disappoint, and if anything, I think that was a good example of not necessarily what to expect in the official iRacing races, because of course it is week 13, and week 13's entire basis is being as chaotic as possible. But still, these trucks can put on some very exciting racing even in these smaller, more tame fields. But alrighty, there we go. This is not actually the Pro American Late Model Series, so disregard that. Taking home the overall win, though, going to be the number 3 of Charles Wagner with an entire 8-second lead at this tiny little track. Following him, going to be Jimmy Whitesell in the 59, Joku Picala in the 1, and Jesse Main in the 201, going to be the top 4 overall for this race and the top 4 in the Pro 4 class. Kevin Savoy finishing back in the 5th position overall. He's going to be the class winner for the Pro 2 class. 6th place going back to that number 5 machine of Leto, followed by Maddox Bailey in the 11 for P number 6 in class. Dalton J. Martin in the 4, going to be picking up the win for the Pro 2 Light class, and for the most of the rest of the way down, it's going to be all Pro 2 trucks, Pro 2 Light trucks specifically, minus a couple of stragglers that were not able to pick up the spots they were hoping for, all looking like cars that ended up wrecked out of this race. But just like that, already the first ever race of the iRacing Slice of Life broadcast going to be coming to a close. Thank you all for tuning into it. I look forward to doing some more of these pretty much just whenever I have free time outside of my regular broadcasts, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future. Have a good rest of your evening, y'all.